If you ever felt that something inside you refuses to conform, shrink, or your entire body has a very quiet fuck no to the rules that never felt like they belonged to you in the first place, then you have already felt the presence of the goddess, the dark lady in her allness, the myth, the divine goddess, the beautiful demoness they warned you about. The current, the ancient feminine force that chose exile over submission. Lilith. Now, to truly invoke the power of this goddess, you must first understand her essence, get to know her, learn her story, explore her realm, and reflect on what parts of her call out to your own primal truth. In discovering her, you will discover yourself. Even just reading or listening to texts about the goddess, you will get to know parts of you that you may have forgotten. If she lives inside your cells, as you read or listen, you will be automatically extracting the aspects of her energy that speak most deeply to your spirit, and then integrating them into the reality you wish to transform. This is how this kind of sorcery begins. The first realm, archetypal Lilith, and you can see her very clearly. She walks out of the Garden of Eden, rejecting conformity and standing deep in authenticity and autonomy, in honor of the wild, instinctual nature within. Authenticity, in this case, is a higher frequency than love. So understanding her realm on this level is the foundation beneath invoking, summoning, and creating any ritual that involves the goddess. As dark and demonic as she is, she's also in the heart of every woman. She's the pulsating raw life force sending remembrances to the brain that has been clogged by generational conditioning that cursed the divine dark feminine into powerlessness and into the loss of her ancient wisdom. The demoness is a force to be revered. She's also the epitome of the simple notion of living for oneself above and beyond anything else. Her walk out of Eden needs to be imprinted in our bones. It had the grace of a prowling panther, despite inflictions, attacks, and consequences. She simply walked out without arguing with Adam. Now, on another level, Lilith may be the Dark Mother, but she's also a heart opener. She has been with us since birth, but we could not hear her. She returns to nudge and even destroy the false sense of self, yet we still cannot hear her. She returns again, this time dressed in blood and shrouded in the dark power of the night. Now she is the Queen of Hell, who rules over demons with primal feminine force, birthing them from the depths of her own darkness. And she remains until we begin to destroy our own status quo in pursuit of personal sovereignty. This is her form of seduction and rebellious allure. She stands for independence, autonomy, and our innate, potent sexual energy. Energy that is often misused, demonized, dirtied, and scattered towards misaligned ideas of self, life, and relationships. Lilith embodies the unbridled sensual energy of the untamed, untouched feminine. She is unbound by constraints or limitations. She stands unshakable. Her blood cannot be touched. Her aura is divine and dark, rejecting the notion that a woman must conform to predefined roles or behaviors. In her realm, There is no rage, revenge, or retaliation. Those two are misused forms of sexual energy. Instead, getting to know her will allow you to understand the demolition of our own wounded masculine structures, the false patriarchy that lives within us, so that we may reinvent the real patriarchy and the reality we are here to embody. The reality of her as our end destination, her DNA in our blood. So she was born from primordial darkness, from the earth. She was formed by the earth. And she carries this raw self-knowing, inherent self-honor, impenetrable resilience, and ancient wisdom. Her presence is intoxicating. It takes seduction from the mere mortal mind onto another level. Her gaze pierces through illusions that reveal the truths behind what's been hidden from the woman, the darkness and the divinity. Archetypally, when you get to know Lilith, you will sense her presence as the untamed primordial feminine force, embodying a very gentle form of rebellion, an incredible sensual sense of autonomy, and all the shadow aspects of feminine power. These are the parts of the woman that we don't even want to face or confront. They are fucking scary. So she is the archetype of the wild woman that stands outside societal norms, refusing to be subjugated. But there is a distinct difference between ego-rooted rebellion and Lilith blood-rooted rebellion. And I talk about it a little bit later on, as it is a vital organ we need to download into the DNA. Lilith's rejection of Adam in the Garden of Eden symbolizes a refusal to be dominated, even at the cost of exile. Her archetypal frequency is one of defiance, demanding freedom within unity. Lilith embodies the aspects of femininity that have been vilified. So there's rage, sexuality, and the dark unknown. Woman herself has demonized these qualities by listening to the patriarchy, although she didn't really have a choice. Now, the goddess invites exploration of the shadow self like no other, where suppressed desires and truths actually reside, but we've not really paid attention to them. These are not always pretty, and they don't necessarily go with the 3D realm, but they live inside our soul and our psyche. They are untamed and at times uncontainable. And getting to know Lilith is for this particular reason. She represents the creative power of destruction and rebirth. So through her, we are able to confront these almost ugly desires, dark truths inside that live inside us, that we've never looked at, that have been cast aside, gathering mold and resentment. So the minute we discover that we have these desires inside us, there's almost always a rejection of them, a rejection of this part of us, because it is too ugly to explore and unveil or show to an audience even. But as you get to know her as the archetype you would like to collaborate with, you will sense her calling forth primal instincts, intuition, and the raw energy required to actually face these ugliness and to birth new realities beyond societal expectations, even beyond your own fears of this ugliness. You will feel her holding the current of sacred sexuality, where pleasure, or should I say forbidden pleasure, living within the woman's body, and this almost ugly desire that has been cast aside. You will see her holding both currents as they both become forms of divine expression, merging into one. Now I move into another realm, and this is Lilith in celestial consciousness. Now this is where Lilith is represented in astrology by Black Moon Lilith, a point reflecting the moon's furthest point from the Earth in its orbit. And it symbolizes themes of rejection, power, and the reclamation of the primal feminine. So in celestial consciousness, and when getting to know Lilith, you will start to understand her representation of the parts of the psyche that have been exiled, suppressed by our own self. Nobody else's. We're happily pointing fingers at the patriarchy and at society, but we're not taking accountability and responsibility for rejecting our own self. Now, her energy offers a different kind of power here. The way she exists in the celestial void makes her very, very quiet as an energy field and as a realm. So she will be residing in a space of nothingness, chaos, and pure potential. This is the underworld of Lilith. So without quieting the DNA, we will not be able to hear her. Celestial consciousness means that there is less density, so it's a different realm. And the entire being, the entire body has to be taken into that realm in order to meet Lilith at this level of consciousness. The invitation into Lilith's underworld is not for the chaotic mind or a beginner's belly, which is the second brain, or an undefined and untrained nervous system. You will be spat out from this consciousness for your own protection. However, if the body has been worked on and you exist in this realm of consciousness with Lilith, the space of nothingness is what they call all levels of possibility. You are able to see a timeline of a life you've either lived before but was not able to finish, or one that has been nudging you from a different realm, one that you need to be living right now. And to be in this celestial consciousness with her is what I call the unknown of the unknown. And the surrender to metamorphic shifts through the cosmic womb where creation begins. Now back to the astrology Black Moon Lilith. This placement in the natal chart reveals where rejection may occur, where power has been suppressed, and where power struggles may arise within the self and with others. It's a reflection and a mirror. It also reveals the push and pull between independence and the desire to be saved. She shows you through your birth chart the path towards embracing dark feminine power without the layers of false ego. This is the evolution of the matrix a woman is born into and has to evolve through. Her very own birth matrix, her birth chart. Now, again, I repeat, Lilith does not argue with Adam. So even through looking at the Black Moon Lilith placement, this has nothing to do with resenting what you chose as a soul evolution or fighting with it. And this comes from the assumption that Lilith represents this middle finger up attitude, but it's nothing like that. There's more of a gentle, loving, compassionate ease that she asks you to adopt when you look at placements in your birth chart that are harsh and almost cruel. But they are there out of your soul choice and energies that you can clearly handle. However, the attitude will determine whether you evolve or not. And this is where Lilith's realm of consciousness and getting to know her comes in really strongly. Now, as a continuation of the celestial consciousness, there is Lilith in spirit that you feel inside your bones, but you can't put a finger on her. And it is a spiritual dimension of sorts, maybe the same as celestial consciousness, maybe different. I can't go into these details. I'm more into talking about learning about Lilith, getting to know her, which is ultimately getting to know the raw, untamed essence of woman, of the wild woman within. Now, for me, spirit starts from the core, so from the self, from the belly button, and emanates into the aura. So in a way, getting to know the spirit of Lilith is like walking around with her cloak all over you. You will be literally walking in a bubble of Lilithian energy, carrying a very pure spirit of rebellion and primal female power. This is a form of seduction that a woman doesn't necessarily get to know really deeply. Seduction almost always remains at surface level for most females. Now, with this spirit within and all over, her energy will be guarding your personal sovereignty. And there will be this sort of silent, gentle, almost invisible empowerment towards the soul to break you free from spiritual, emotional, societal, and bloodline shackles. So she will be doing the heavy lifting for you, whilst you focus on the end destination, which is her, embodying her DNA, her blood, her bones, her everything. Now, with this also comes the spirit of the outcast, and the one exiled for refusing to conform. This comes along. It's a double-edged sword of wearing Lilith's spirit. And this will make her a guiding force for anyone who's feeling or who has felt a sense of being alienated or completely misunderstood, rejected, abandoned. However, using the frequency of the outcast as justification for suffering is where things often go very, very wrong. On a human level, when the ego gets attached and rejection starts getting hoarded as an excuse to remain the victim, then Lilith's spirit leaves you completely because it's not being used to its highest potential. You are simply huffing and puffing your way out of the old Eden whilst your DNA cracks under frustration and resentment. And this waters down the blood of the goddess and turns you into a commoner. And this is where her spirit leaves you. She will not argue with your ego. She will simply fuck off. So getting to know her spirit of rebellion is non-negotiable here. Because this type of spirit burns with the flame of divine disobedience. And this is not rebellion for the sake of ego. I know I keep repeating this. It is a deeply embedded and elegant internal fuck no, aligned with the truth of the soul. So with this spirit all over you, taking over, possessing you, you will be refusing misaligned energies as an act of sacred sovereignty without even knowing. Now, merging and moving into my favorite realms of Lilith. This is her in the shadow and the abyss, and also in the demonic current. Getting to know Lilith on this level means you start living from her underworld, from her shadow, and from the abyss. So this is the shadow realm of spirit that is unafraid of darkness. And this is where you will learn how to embrace the shadow. The most choking fears, the terror, the paralysis that happens in the brain, the vagal tone, the nervous system, the belly, the suppressed desires, the ones I spoke about already, and the rejected truth. These are not pretty objects we play with. These are the ugliest shadows that will become the most elegant life and business collaborators. And this is what is necessary for spiritual wholeness. Getting to know Lilith on this level is spiritual wholeness. And she will also hand over ancient and often forbidden knowledge for you to use in your life. Now, her guidance through this realm will come through dreams, visions, deep meditative states, and also the mundane. In my case, it came from a movie. Then, if you merge the mystical, the magical, and the mundane, you will be led to profound self-knowing like you've never known before. It is a mirror of shadow integration that she reveals, and the parts of the soul that have been denied, rejected cruelly, even burnt to the stake. And this realm is where you learn how to integrate them into harmony. Hormonal harmony, to be exact. Now, last but definitely not least, Lilith in the demonic current. This is the goddess at the deepest level. The deepest, the darkest, and the most divine. And this energy moves beyond archetype and myth and enters probably the scariest layers of blood, bone marrow, and shadow inside the blood. So this is our soul ancestry, our soul lineage that we probably don't know or we haven't met fully. And this is where the cutoff point with the bloodline lineage comes about. And I don't speak about this realm lightly, especially this being an extract from the book. I do not want to come across as giving you a woo-woo version of this, or a diluted version that could cause you a lot of harm. This does require a lot of honor, elegance, and work to be done to the body. Because the demonic current of Lilith is also the vampirical sovereignty. This is where her power becomes insatiable and immortal. So knowing Lilith at this level means that you are truly about to sign a different soul contract. You are almost selling your own soul back to the original self, not to a deity or a demon or a divine goddess. This is your own soul being handed to a more powerful self that's being possessed by the goddess, meaning that it is a force that transcends mortal boundaries and reclaims energy from sources that sought to deplete it. This is demonic and vampirical sorcery of a very, very elegant type. Yet, the vampiric nature that you will learn about is not about predation at all. It is conscious reclamation. Also, the recollection of blood and bone marrow. So this is where the divine, the demonic, and the human aspects come together as one. This is where the spirit of rebellion wears an obsidian cloak, a lace garter, and very high heels, but stands unshakably still with a whip in one hand. Now, learning about this form of rebellion is somewhat something else, because from here you will draw life force back into the body, into the DNA, and into the self. And you will be reclaiming blood energy that has been lost to parasitic dynamics, or something that's been sucked out of you. So her demonic current embodies this primal rebellion for the human aspect to be able to do this. The aspect that connects to blood and void, and only wants vitality transmuted into empowerment, nothing else. And this is where you will move through the threshold where life and death blur. So this is not the easiest part of knowing Lilith or working with her, but from my experience is the most divine and deadly. Mainly because you will sense the vampire energy in her that wants to suck anything that binds or weakens the feminine. And she is not feeding to harm. She feeds to regenerate. And through this dark current, the bloodline of sovereignty continues.